Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're staring at a stack of research that is honestly a little intimidating.
Yeah, it really is.
We've got these biographical timelines and filmography charts that honestly look like stock market crashes and booms.
Right, just massive spikes and drops.
Exactly. Plus critical essays and transcripts of interviews that span like 3 decades.
It's a lot to get through.
It is. And we are applying all of that to a story that feels less like a celebrity biography and more like a lesson in physics.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, right? What goes up must come down.
I do. And in this specific case, I mean, what comes down crashes burningly, stays down for a while, and then somehow it rises higher than it ever was before.
Yeah, precisely. We are unpacking the life, the career, and the really complicated psychology of Ben Affleck.
Right.
Now, before you tune out thinking, oh, a celebrity profile,
Yeah.
I know he was Batman.
Right. Wait, just pause for a second.
Yeah, pause. Because this isn't just about movie trivia. This is actually a case study in resilience.
Is it?
It's a business case on reinvention, really. We're looking at a figure who has held the highest prestige in his industry.
Winning Oscars.
Winning Oscars, yeah. And has also been the absolute punchline of the industry during the lowest points of a tabloid frenzy.
It really is a fascinating trajectory because, usually when we look at careers in the entertainment industry, or really any high-profile career, you see a standard arc.
Right.
Like a slow rise, maybe a plateau where they make their money, and then a gradual decline into character roles.
Or obscurity.
Yeah, or obscurity, or perhaps you see the classic one-hit wonder spike. But with Affleck, it's not an arc. It's a seismograph during an earthquake.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It's a series of incredibly high peaks and very, very deep valleys.
That is exactly the image I had in mind. It's a total roller coaster.
It is.
And the sources we have for today's deep dive, which, by the way, cover his life up through roughly 2017, they really paint a picture of someone who is constantly having to rebuild the house while he's living in it.
Resilience really is the key word here, but not just toughness,
What do you mean?
Well, it's strategic resilience. It's knowing how to pivot.
Right. So our mission today, as you listen, is to figure out how a kid from the Boston area went from doing educational PBS shows to wearing the bat suit.
Quite the leap.
Yeah, and how he navigated being typecast as this sort of meathead actor to becoming one of the most respected directors in Hollywood.
And along the way, I think we have to talk about the engine under the hood.
Okay.
Because there is a specific mention in our source material about an obsessive personality.
Yes, I wanted to get into that.
I really want to explore how that trait is a double-edged sword. How it fuels the craft that wins the awards, but also contributes to the struggles that land him in the tabloids.
It's the fuel, but it's also the fire risk.
Exactly.
I'm ready if you are. Let's just start at the very beginning.
All right.
Because when I think of Ben Affleck, I just think Boston.
Sure, everyone does.
I think Dunkin' Donuts. I think the accent, the Red Sox. It just feels like he must have emerged from the Charles River fully formed.
Just walked right out of the water.
Yeah. But our source threw a curveball right away. He wasn't born there.
That's right. He is inextricably linked to Boston in our cultural memory, but he was actually born in California.
California?
Yeah, August 15th, 1972. His parents, Timothy Byers Affleck and Christine, they were living on the West Coast.
And his dad was a photographer, right?
Dad was a photographer, mom was a school teacher.
But the California chapter really didn't last long. Like, this wasn't a California surfer kid upbringing.
No, not at all. And this is really the foundational trauma, or at least the foundational shift of his early life. His parents separated soon after he was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they officially divorced in 1984, but the separation happened much earlier, and that split is what precipitated the move to Massachusetts.
So the move to Massachusetts wasn't just a change of scenery. It was the result of a fractured family dynamic.
Precisely. And that setting, Massachusetts, becomes the backdrop for his entire identity.
It's not just where he lived.
Exactly. It's who he became. You have to understand, Cambridge, Massachusetts isn't just quote-unquote Boston.
Right.
It's this unique mix of working-class grit and Harvard intellectualism.
They're right next to each other.
Literally side by side. It's a place where you have to be tough, but you also have to be smart. And that duality is important because you see it in Affleck's career later on.
Oh, totally.
He can play the gritty bank robber, but he can also write the intellectual screenplay. He straddles those worlds because he grew up right on the fault line of them.
And speaking of that world, he didn't waste time getting into the family business of entertainment.
Yeah.
Even if the business was Pretty small scale at first.
Very small scale.
The source mentions some really humble beginnings. We are talking about a Burger King advertisement.
Look, everyone starts somewhere.
I know.
I know. And honestly, there's something grounding about imagining a young Ben Affleck trying to earnestly sell you a Whopper.
It's hilarious.
It reminds us that stardom isn't ordained, you know? It's worked for.
But he also did something called The Voyage of the Mimi in 1984. Now, I have to admit, I vaguely remember this.
Yes, The Voyage of the Mimi. This was a PBS miniseries.
Okay.
For a lot of kids who grew up in that era, this was an educational television staple.
Right, they'd roll the TV cart into the classroom.
Exactly. It was science, it was adventure, it was whales. But for Affleck, it was a job.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to look back at that because at the time, it's just a kid doing a dig. It's a grind.
It's not stardom.
No, it's the early work of a working actor. He wasn't a Disney kid being groomed for fame in a studio system. He was a kid actor learning the ropes on a boat.
Literally on a boat.
Yeah.
It's a long way from Gotham City, that's for sure.
Very true.
But I think the most important thing that happened in Massachusetts wasn't a role. It was a person.
Oh, absolutely.
He attended Cambridge, Rindridge, and Latin School. And who does he meet?
Matt Damon.
The legend begins.
It really does. And I think it's important to pause on this for a second.
Okay, why?
Because in Hollywood, friendship is often just a PR arrangement, or it's a networking thing. You meet on a set, you take a photo for Instagram, you move on.
Right, it's transactional.
But this was different. They were kids. They grew up 2 blocks away from each other.
Wow, just 2 blocks.
Yeah. This wasn't just a friendship. It became a professional partnership that would eventually disrupt the entire industry.
They were in the trenches together before anyone knew who they were.
They shared a bank account to pay for train tickets to auditions in New York.
That's crazy.
It was a survival pact.
And those trenches were deep in the 90s. They were really grinding. Affleck gets his first major cult classic role in 1990, right? With Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, playing the character O'Banion.
Right, yeah.
If you remember that role, he's essentially the bully. He's the antagonist.
With the paddle.
Yes, the paddle-wielding senior. It's interesting because it set up a certain perception of him. It's a very physical, imposing role.
He's a big guy.
He is. And he wasn't the sensitive artist type in that film. He was the guy you were terrified of in the hallway.
Yeah.
That physicality is something he would lean into later. But early on, it almost typecast him as the heavy.
And then he connects with Kevin Smith.
Right.
The source mentions Jersey Girl and an appearance in a Smith review, but we know that relationship goes much deeper in that whole 90s indie scene.
Oh, definitely. Mallrats, chasing Amy.
Exactly. He was working. He was getting checks. But let's fast forward to the moment where everything changes for him and Damon. The golden ticket.
A script.
Good Will Hunting.
This is the pivot point. You really have to understand the context here. You have these 2 young actors.
Yeah.
They're getting roles, sure. Affleck is working, Damon is working, but they aren't stars.
They aren't on posters.
Right, they aren't opening movies. And instead of waiting for the phone to ring, which is what 99% of actors do,
They decided to ring the bell themselves.
they wrote the script.
That is the part that always blows my mind, just the sheer agency of it. Like, nobody is hiring us for the roles we want, so we will just create the role.
Exactly. It's the ultimate bet on oneself. And they didn't just write it and put it in a drawer somewhere.
No, they didn't.
The source says the script was bought by Harvey Weinstein for $1 million US.
In 1997, $1 million.
It's wild.
For 2 guys who are essentially scraping by, I mean, maybe not scraping by, but they certainly weren't wealthy. That is literally a lottery win.
It's astronomical. And it wasn't just the money, you know, it was the validation.
Right.
It was the industry saying, we bet on you. And the payout wasn't just financial. The movie is nominated for 9 Oscars. 9.
And they win 2,
Oh,
including Best Original Screenplay.
just think about that visual for a second.
The 2 of them on stage.
Yeah. You have these 2 childhood friends from Cambridge standing on stage holding gold statues for writing.
Iconic.
It cemented Affleck as a serious talent. He wasn't just a pretty face or the bully from Dazed and Confused anymore. He was a creator. Right. It provided them with a level of creative agency that is almost unheard of for actors that young.
Yeah.
They skipped the line. They hacked the system.
He really did. And you'd think, okay, he's got the Oscar for writing. He's established himself as this smart, sensitive creator from Boston.
Naturally.
He's going to go down this path of serious, introspective indie films, right?
You would think.
But that's not quite what happened next, is it?
No, it is not. And this is where we enter what I like to call the blockbuster era. or perhaps the movie Star Trap.
The Trap.
Yeah.
Because immediately after 1997, he goes huge.
Yeah.
We're talking explosions, asteroids, Michael Bay,
1998, Armageddon.
working with Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, that animal crackers scene on her stomach.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that movie was everywhere. You could not escape that Aerosmith song as you were driving to work.
Don't want to miss a thing.
Yes, it was a global phenomenon.
It was. And it positioned Affleck not as the writer from Boston, but as the action hero.
Right.
He's the guy who goes to space and saves the world. And it's a very seductive transition.
I bet.
Yeah.
The paychecks must have been insane.
Oh, they add a zero at the end. The fame goes global. You aren't just famous in LA and New York anymore. You're famous in Tokyo and London.
Right. And then you have Pearl Harbor in 2001, re-teaming with Michael Bay.
Another massive spectacle.
Massive.
And then The Sum of All Fears in 2002, where he takes on the Jack Ryan mantle.
Right.
Now, that is a legacy role. Harrison Ford played Jack Ryan. Alec Baldwin played Jack Ryan.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Huge shoes. And Affleck steps into them. He is positioning himself as the leading man of Hollywood. He's trying to be the next Harrison Ford.
And let's not forget Daredevil in 2003, his first foray into superheroes.
Right. The red leather suit came first.
Long before the Batsuit.
It did. And while he's doing all this action stuff, he's also trying to be the romantic lead.
Checking all the boxes.
Yeah, Forces of Nature with Sandra Bullock in 1999. A role in Shakespeare in Love with Gwyneth Paltrow in 2000.
Okay, so he's doing it all.
He is checking every single box of movie star. Action, check. Romance, check. Franchise, check.
Right. He is doing everything the industry tells you you need to do to be the biggest star in the world.
But the source material points out that this flurry of commercial projects started to produce, let's call them mixed results.
That is a very polite way of putting it.
Yeah.
The tide started to turn, and it turned really hard.
We have to talk about 2003, the year of Jiggly.
Jiggly, starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
I feel like we don't even need to explain it to you if you were around back then. The name alone invokes a shiver in Hollywood executives.
It's become shorthand for a box office bomb.
It has.
It was a perfect storm. The movie itself was critically panned, and that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was messy, it was weird tone-wise, but it was the context that really made it fatal.
What do you mean?
This was the absolute height of the tabloid obsession with Bennifer. People were sick of them before the movie even opened in theaters.
Oh, right. They were everywhere. They were overexposed. So when the movie turned out to be a disaster, the schadenfreude, the joy people took in its failure was just immense.
The public felt like they were being force-fed this celebrity couple, and they just spit it out.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just one bad movie. The source lists Surviving Christmas in 2004, Smokin' Aces in 2007, which was a commercial failure, despite some moderate critical interest.
Right. He went from the golden boy of Good Will Hunting to absolute box office poison in the span of about 6 years.
Wow. 6 years.
The audience fatigue was real, and this is what I meant by the movie Star Trap. He chased the big roles, the big paychecks, the lifestyle, and it almost ate his career alive.
He totally lost the narrative.
Completely. He wasn't the smart writer anymore. He was the guy in the tabloids making bad movies.
It's interesting you mentioned the lifestyle and the narrative, because you really can't tell the story of Ben Affleck without talking about the personal life.
You really can't.
The source material devotes a good chunk of time to his relationships and his struggles. It seems like his personal life was just as much of a roller coaster as the box office numbers.
They were deeply intertwined. When your personal life is on the cover of every magazine at the checkout aisle, it colors how people see your work.
Oh, definitely.
You can't separate the art from the artist when the artist is that famous.
Let's run through the timeline the source gives us.
Yeah.
He had an on and off relationship with Gwyneth Paltrow that ended in 1999.
Right. But they remained friends.
Yes, which the source notes.
And that kept him in that sort of prestige circle for a while.
Then, the big one, Bennifer Part 1.
Here we go.
Dating Jennifer Lopez during the filming of Jiggly in 2002. They got engaged. But then, 4 days before the wedding in 2004.
They broke up. 4 days.
Can you imagine the pressure?
The media circus around that wedding was unprecedented. There were helicopters hovering over the venue.
That's insane.
And the collapse of that relationship seemed to perfectly coincide with the collapse of his professional standing. It was this massive trauma played out for the world's amusement.
But he didn't stay single for long. He started dating his Daredevil co-star Jennifer Garner in 2004.
Right. And this seemed like a real shift towards stability for him.
Yeah.
They had a secret marriage in Haiti in 2005. It wasn't this big media spectacle. It was private.
It felt like he was trying to correct the course. Go quiet, go traditional.
Exactly.
We built a life, 3 children, homes in Massachusetts, New York, Georgia. It looked like the ultimate Hollywood family dream.
And for a long time, it really was. But as we know from the source, the marriage also faced its end.
Yeah.
They announced their separation in 2015 and filed for divorce in 2017. And later, the source notes he dated Lindsay Shookus, a TV producer.
But underneath all these relationships, there was another struggle going on. And the source is very explicit about his battle with alcoholism.
Yes. And this is where we see the human side of the celebrity and, frankly, the source of some of that obsessive energy turning inward.
Right.
He had a rehab stint in 2001. That's actually quite early in this timeline we're discussing.
There is a quote in the source that I found really, really powerful. Affleck says, doesn't really bother me to talk about alcoholism and being an alcoholic. It's a part of my life. It doesn't have to sort of subsume my whole identity.
That is a profoundly mature viewpoint, isn't it? Let's just unpack that for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to subsume my whole identity.
He is acknowledging the struggle. He isn't hiding from it or pretending it didn't happen.
Right.
But he's also refusing to let it be the only thing that defines him. He's saying, I am an actor, I am a director, I am a father, and yes, I am an alcoholic.
It's just a part of the whole.
Exactly. That kind of compartmentalization, or rather integration, is incredibly difficult to achieve.
I am.
If he had let the shame of it or the public struggle of it become his entire world, we might never have seen the renaissance that followed. He treats it as a chronic condition to be managed, not a character flaw that ends the story.
We also have to touch on a controversy mentioned in the source. And, we're just sticking to the facts here, but it's part of the full picture.
Right.
In 2017, amidst the backdrop of the Me Too movement, an accusation resurfaced.
Yes, MTV correspondent Hillary Burton accused Affleck of groping her during a TRL appearance way back in 2001.
And the source notes that Affleck publicly apologized for inappropriate behavior.
It's part of the narrative. You have the triumphs, you have the addiction struggles, and you have these moments of public reckoning.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a flawed, complex individual, not just some polished statue.
And it shows that the Goodwill Hunting Boy wonder image had real cracks in it. He was a guy in the middle of a chaotic, high-pressure, often toxic industry culture, making mistakes and facing reckonings.
So we're at the mid-2000s now. His acting career is in a serious slump. Jiggly has happened. The tabloids are relentless. Honestly, most actors would just fade away here.
They really would.
Maybe do some TV guest spots, maybe disappear into total obscurity. But Affleck pivots. And he pivots hard.
This is what I think of as the Renaissance. And notice how he does it.
How so?
He doesn't try to make another blockbuster immediately. He doesn't go chasing another Armageddon. He goes back to the work itself.
Okay.
And it begins with a very specific choice. Hollywoodland in 2006.
Ooh, right. Where he plays George Reeves, the actor who played Superman in the 1950s.
The irony there is palpable, isn't it?
It's almost metatextual.
It really is. Think about it. He is playing an actor who is trapped by a superhero role, who struggled with typecasting, who couldn't get respect from the industry, and whose life ended tragically.
Wow.
Affleck steps into that role and channels all of his own frustration, all of his own experience with the absolute emptiness of fame right into that performance.
And it wakes everyone up.
It does. He wins the Best Actor award at the Venice Film Festival. He gets a Golden Globe nomination.
It's like the industry suddenly remembered. Oh, right. This guy can act.
Exactly. It broke the spell of Jiggly.
Yeah.
But he didn't just rely on acting to save him. He went back to the thing that launched him in the first place. Creating. He realized that waiting for good roles to be offered was a fool's game. Okay. He had to get into the director's chair.
2007, Gone Baby Gone.
His directorial debut. And he casts his brother, Casey Affleck, in the lead.
Right. And he goes back to Boston.
He goes back to his roots, the gritty streets he knows. And the movie is fantastic. Critics were stunned.
I remember that.
I remember the reviews. People were genuinely shocked. They were like, wait, the guy from Armageddon directed this gritty, nuanced crime drama?
Yeah, it was a total shock to the system. Then he follows it up with The Town in 2010.
Another massive hit. And he stars in this one, too.
Right, playing the bank robber.
He's showing the industry he can handle both sides of the camera simultaneously. He's telling them, I'm not just a hired gun anymore. I'm the filmmaker.
But the peak, the absolute peak of this comeback has to be 2012.
Argo. Argo is the masterstroke. He directs it, he stars in it, he produces it alongside George Clooney.
It's a political thriller about the Iran hostage crisis. It's serious, it's tense, it's historical.
And the awards just rain down.
Golden Globe, Directors Guild of America, BAFTA for direction.
It was the ultimate vindication. He went from being the giggly guy to the director of the Best Picture winner.
It's arguably one of the greatest second acts in Hollywood history.
It truly is. He forced the industry to respect him again purely through the undeniable quality of his work.
And amidst this directing success, he also lands a role in Gone Girl in 2014.
David Fincher's psychological thriller. And again, look at the casting there. Fincher is a genius.
Oh, absolutely.
He cast Affleck to play a husband who is being persecuted by the media, who looks guilty, who is hiding things, who has this kind of smarmy charm that turns people off.
That is so true.
Fincher used Affleck's real-life public persona, the baggage we all carry as an audience when we look at him, to fuel the character. It was brilliant, and Affleck was brilliant in it.
So, he's back on top. He's a respected auteur. He's an award-winning director. He's a serious actor. He has rewritten his narrative completely.
Completely.
And then he decides to wear a cape again.
Ah, yes, the Batfleck era.
Why? I mean, honestly, as you're listening, you have to wonder, why go back to the superhero world after Daredevil went so poorly?
That is the million-dollar question. Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice in 2016.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to that obsessive personality trait we talked about earlier.
How so?
Well, maybe he felt he had unfinished business with the genre. Maybe he wanted to prove he could conquer the blockbuster world on his own terms this time, since he had so much more clout.
You know, when this casting was announced, the internet just broke.
Oh, the backlash was immediate.
People were furious. They were tweeting, Daredevil's going to be Batman. But then the movie actually came out, and even though the film itself was polarizing, a lot of people admitted Affleck was actually a really good, weary veteran Batman.
He was. He brought a real physical gravity to it. He reprised the role in Justice League in 2017.
Right.
But this is where that obsessive personality trait comes back into focus in a genuinely dangerous way.
The source mentions this specifically. He had an obsessive personality regarding the role. The pressure was immense. You have years of comic books, years of books, as the source puts it, versus the movie interpretation.
And the fans are rabid. They want absolute perfection.
And he wanted to give it to them. There's a quote where he talks about giving the very best performance I can give.
He wasn't phoning it in. He was trying to carry the weight of the entire DC universe on his shoulders.
But there's a limit. Remember, Warner Brothers initially supported him directing a standalone Batman movie. He was going to write, direct, and star as Batman.
That sounds like an impossible workload.
Right.
The triple threat on a massive blockbuster scale like that.
It is. Especially for someone with the obsessive nature the source describes. And we see a decision made here that echoes what we discussed earlier about his sobriety.
Yes, he decided not to direct it.
Exactly.
This is a crucial plot point in our story. The source says the studio supported his decision to step back and remained committed to working with him, but he realized he just couldn't do it all.
He realized that if he tried to direct and star in a project of that magnitude, something would break. Either the movie would suffer or he would suffer.
Connecting this back to his quote about not letting things subsume his identity, this was a protective measure.
Definitely.
He recognized his limits. He chose his well-being over the prestige of directing a Batman movie.
Which is huge for a guy in Hollywood.
Right. The younger Ben Affleck, the one from the late 90s, probably would have said yes to everything and just driven right off the cliff. The older, wiser Ben Affleck said, I can't do this and stay healthy.
It's a fascinating trajectory. From the Burger King commercial to Voyage of the Mimi, meeting Matt Damon at school, the struggle of the 90s, the absolute explosion of Good Will Hunting.
Blockbuster Trap and The Crash.
Yeah, the reinvention as a director. And finally, the Batman pressure cooker and the decision to step back.
It's a life lived entirely in public, with all the scars and trophies on display.
So as we wrap this up, let's unpack the so what here.
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Exactly. Why does this story matter to you as you're, prepping for a meeting or driving to work right now? Why should you care about Ben Affleck's career arc?
I think the core theme is resilience, but specifically the type of resilience that requires reinvention.
Okay.
Affleck proves that failure isn't fatal. In Hollywood, they always say you are only as good as your last hit.
Right?
But Affleck showed that if you have talent and if you are willing to pivot to change the game, to stop waiting for roles and start writing them or start directing them, You can rewrite your own narrative.
He didn't just wait for the world to forgive him for Jiggly.
No, he didn't.
He went out and made Gone Baby Gone. He forced the world to respect him again through the quality of his work. He took agency.
Exactly. He illustrates that the path to success isn't a straight line. It's a series of peaks and valleys. And sometimes you have to go into the valley to find the tools you need to climb the next peak.
That makes total sense.
Argo doesn't happen without the failure of the mid-2000s forcing him to try directing.
That is a great takeaway. Failure is just data for the next attempt. But before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought.
Provocative thought.
Yes. We talked a lot about his obsessive personality. It's the engine that drove him to write Good Will Hunting when he was basically a nobody. It's what made Argo a masterpiece.
But it's also linked to his struggles with addiction and the immense pressure he felt as Batman.
Exactly. It raises the question, is that drive a blessing or a curse?
That's the real question.
Based on his trajectory, does the drive that creates an Argo inevitably lead to the burnout of a Batman? Can you have the high-stakes ambition without the crash?
Or is the oscillation between the two simply the price of that level of greatness?
That is something to mull over. What is the true cost of ambition? And is the roller coaster the only way to ride?
That's definitely something to think about. What is the cost?
And on that note, we will leave you to explore that thought on your own. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and career of Ben Affleck. We'll see you next time.
Stay curious.